Today we're celebrating students, we're celebrating teachers. What does support look like to teachers, and what does support look like to students?
But when you can, making an effort to show up, just be physically present, I would say that is the most encouraging and helpful thing that you can do.
I think something that Jake mentioned earlier is just communication. I think that communication between parents and teachers is super important because I never want to be against a parent. I'm always on team their kid.
It takes young people like yourselves to step up in their community and create ripple effects in where their feet are. And it takes a lot of people to do that and to build up other leaders. And I see that very evident from you guys.
Welcome to the One Pebble Podcast. Listeners, YouTube watchers, we are thrilled that you have joined us. It means so much to us. We are so excited to introduce Jenny Olson and Jake Abrams to you today. They are two teachers, and today on this episode, we are going to be celebrating teachers and students. We are going to talk about so many things, the opportunities and challenges of teaching, the opportunities and challenges for students. We're going to talk about AI and social media and so much more. In the studio, welcome Jenny and Jake. We're so excited that you're with us today. Have you been enjoying your Christmas break? Being a teacher, you're in a profession that you have a little bit of time off here between Christmas and New Year's. And tell us what you've been doing. And I'm sure it's been wonderful to have a couple days off.
It's been very needed.
Yeah, I've been sleeping, catching up on sleep, just hanging out with friends. And yeah, it's been great to just have a few days to relax and unwind and not have to worry about lesson planning and stuff. So,
yeah, I've been enjoying. I spent some time with my family in the St. Cloud area. Just got back yesterday, and yeah, getting a lot of extra sleep, which is and brain rest, which is nice.
Yeah,
I am a believer that teachers are going to have a special place in heaven. I truly mean that. My mom taught Jenny where you currently teach at New London Spicer. And she taught there for about 20 years, home ec. And I just watched her put her heart and soul into students. My sister-in-law is a teacher, and many of my friends are teachers. I have so much reverence for teachers. And so please know, both Jake and Jenny, you are definitely making a significant difference in the lives of others. God is using you both in mighty ways, and we're excited to talk about that today. Along with me today, I have my co-host, Harris. Harris, thank you for joining us. And when I think about Harris and his high school career, he's just a couple years out of high school. You became really close to your high school teachers, your elementary teachers, and to this day, you keep in contact with some of them. What have teachers meant to you, Harris?
Yeah, it's been really, really cool. I was also an athlete. I think that is something, and I know Jenny is a knowledgeable coach, is something that you can create a really unique bond with a teacher when you're an athlete. And I think that's super cool that the school systems hire the teachers as the coaches because it creates that connection outside of the classroom that's really valuable. And I think that's where I found a lot of value is my coaches were very encouraging to me. Some of them I still text to this day, talk to this day. We go get dinner when I'm home from college and stuff like that. And I think that's really where they're outside of the classroom supporting you, and they impacted me greatly.
It's really fun being a coach for that and having that purpose of getting to connect with my students in a different context. And especially I teach the youngest grade at the middle school. And so I get to work with them from 5th grade all the way up through seniors in high school then. And so it's fun to get to continue that relationship. And that's how I pull them in at the beginning of, hey, you get to come hang out with me after school. And I get quite a few kids because of that, which is so fun.
I know we heard a little bit already with the Knowledge Bowl, but tell us about your role in the school and kind of what you do, and then expand on Knowledge Bowl and what that is. I was a participant, so I know, but I don't think
nice.
a lot of listeners probably even know because it hasn't been a thing forever. Maybe it has. I don't know.
Not
I
really.
shouldn't say that.
No. Yeah. So I teach at New London Spicer Middle School. I teach 5th grade science. So it's their first chance to get an actual science class in our district. And they get a little bit scared coming in, but I make it really hands-on and really fun, really tangible, so they can touch and play with the science, and it's safe, and they get really excited and really interested in it then. And then as for Knowledge Bowl, so Knowledge Bowl is an activity where it's trivia of all sorts. It can cover any school subject, but also things outside of school as well, like current events or pop culture, video games. And so it's just kids working on teams to answer questions and try to be the best and be the smartest that they can. It's really fun.
And for you, Jake, tell us a little bit about your role.
I teach high school math and science. So I teach 9th grade science, like introduction to physics and chemistry, and then just intro to algebra, intro to geometry, and then a third 11th grade math class. It's just kind of a blend of both, focus on more stuff that they're going to see like in college if they take college algebra, that kind of thing. And then I also teach financial stewardship, which is with the Dave Ramsey course, if you've ever seen any of his stuff, which is what it is. Some of it's great, some of it's okay. We like to color it with our own opinions sometimes, but anyways. And then I also taught, or I'm also going to be teaching speech this next year, and I was the assistant cross country coach for the past 2 years as well. And yeah, it's just been awesome to engage with the kids through that, like outside of school, like you said. It's just you get to see them in a new way. And cross country is an amazing sport as well. It's just so close knit. The camaraderie of the team is awesome. Getting to see the kids come alongside each other, because it is an individual sport to a certain extent. I mean, everybody's competing for themselves, but also just to see them lifting each other up and getting to be a part of that and encouraging them alongside that. It's just been an amazing experience. So.
I didn't realize we had 2 coaches. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your thunder, Jake. One thing that's unique about this group of us here is we have one public school teacher and one private school teacher. And I don't want to necessarily like just compare differences and stuff, but that creates a different dynamic in the area that you're teaching and the things that you are able to teach and the ways that you're able to communicate in the classroom. And I'm excited to kind of hear that perspective today. Because one more thing, I also spent half of my life in private school, and then I graduated from a public high school. So I have the perspective of a student being in a private school and a public school, and I greatly benefited from both of them, both environments.
Yeah. And I've also taught in both private and public schools.
Yeah.
I too am excited to dive into all of that. But before we do, we're excited to hear a little bit more about the story from both of you. I'm going to have you tell your story, some about your education, your personal interests, so we can get to know you a little bit better before we kind of dive into some great, interesting topics today. Jake, when I look at you, I know you don't want me to do this, but I just have to call you Mr. Abrams. And here's why. I've known you since you were a little boy. As Harris just said, you went to the same private Christian school, community Christian school, with who we all think so highly of. I know it was very formative in Elsie and Harris's growing up. And our kids grew up with you and grew up with Maggie. And I look at you, Jake, Mr. Abrams, and I sincerely mean this from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't be more proud of you. Now you have, graduated from Liberty.
Yep.
And you're back at teaching at the same high school that you graduated from, I believe, in 2020.
Yep.
And you're making a significant difference in the lives of others. And we're going to want to hear more what it's like to be at the same high school that you graduated from now as a professional. Yeah. Something interesting about Jake is he loves to play long board games. He loves to read. He loves to write. But I think what I've always appreciated most about you, knowing you for a long time, is your heart. You have an awesome heart, and I just know that you're pouring that into the students. Tell us a little bit more about you, Jake, and kind of fill in the gaps as to what you want to add to what I said.
So I graduated from Liberty University in 2020. I majored in theology and apologetics. I started in mechanical engineering, went through that for a year, which is why I'm able to teach math and science. I have enough credits that I ended up qualifying. But yeah, so switched majors around sophomore year. And then through that, I continually changed what I wanted to do. Like I was constantly changing, like, well, maybe I want to be a pastor. Well, maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to do that. Eventually landed on professor. I knew I wanted to end up in some sort of education in some capacity. And then when I graduated in 2020, I originally was supposed to go to grad school. I was supposed to go work for a summer camp down in Iowa called Hidden Acres, if you know where that is. It's a fantastic little camp. I was supposed to go to grad school. They were going to pay for it online while I worked for them for a year. And then lo and behold, a month before I was supposed to start, the grad school went bankrupt, closed down. So my path kind of veered off to the side. I was a little lost for a little bit. And then I heard about, actually through my mom, she mentioned that the school that I had graduated from in high school, Central Minnesota Christian, was hiring a new math teacher. And that was never really my goal. That wasn't my aim, was to become a math teacher, but I knew I wanted to be in some sort of education. And this opportunity, here it was right here in front of me. So I applied and got it, was accepted into the position and became a teacher like a week or two, maybe 2 weeks before the school year started. So spent those first 2 weeks kind of scrambling, trying to get my classroom ready, trying to get everything ready. And it's been a learning experience. The first year was a bit drinking from a fire hose for multiple reasons. I was learning how to be a high school teacher. I was learning the systems that they use, like the softwares and just all of the different rules. It's a lot different. The rules are a lot different being on this side of it. Like when I was a kid in high school, I was like, well, that's a dumb rule. That's a dumb rule. That's a dumb rule. But now I'm as a teacher, I'm like, I love that rule. That is fantastic. That rule saves me. So it's definitely been an odd experience and journey getting here. And yeah, teaching at the same school has been odd as well, because I remember my first year coaching cross country, I ran cross country with some of the kids that I was now coaching. So it was just an odd experience. It was like, I remember you as a sixth grader when you were yay high, and now you're a senior that could kick my butt in a 5K. Okay. So yeah, it's been an odd experience, but it's been good too. I had that inroad with the community. I had that connection. So it was a good experience overall. And the community has been awesome. They've been super supportive, and I can't count the number of times that people have come up to me and just said, you're doing fantastic. We love that you're here. It's just been super encouraging to hear that. So
Jake, what is your favorite thing about being a teacher?
Favorite thing about being a teacher? Seeing, particularly right now, in my science class, IPS, seeing the joy that kids have when we do a fun experiment, just like seeing them go, wow. I remember there's been a couple of those this year where it wasn't intentional, but it ended up being really cool. We did an experiment with unbalanced forces. We were talking about the difference between balanced and unbalanced forces. Unbalanced cause acceleration, balanced do not. And so we went to the gym and played tug of war. And I made the mistake of challenging them all to a game of tug of war by myself. And I wrapped the rope around me and I was like, I'm just going to stay my ground. I mean, they're a bunch of ninth graders. How hard can they really pull? I was humbled immensely and dragged around the gym for a good 30 seconds by a group of ninth graders, which, I mean, it was just a dumb little experiment, but it sticks with them then. And then they, on the test and on everything else, they do fantastic with that lesson, because it's just finding ways to connect with them and relate it to something that they enjoy. So it's been fun to try and make science enjoyable, and it's fun when they find it enjoyable. Yeah.
I saw that on Facebook. That can be found for our listeners.
It can be.
And I loved your vulnerability to allow those students to drag you around, and they'll never forget that experience with Mr. Abrams. Jenny, as I look at you and see that twinkle in your eye and that beautiful smile, you're a new friend to Harris and I today. We just met you for the first time here recording, but I've heard wonderful things about you from some of my closest friends, and really appreciate your heart, like Jake's heart, to serve. I'll say it again. I truly mean this from being the daughter of a teacher myself. I believe that teachers are going to have a special place in heaven. You guys are cut out for kingdom work, and you'll never know your ripples. Like, literally all the dividends that you're pouring into these students, you will never know if someone turns out because of you, if they make a good decision because of you, if they you just never know the ripples of being a teacher. So please feel very encouraged. And part of this podcast today is to celebrate all teachers, and we're excited to celebrate students. Couple things that I want to say about you. You have your bachelor's degree from St. Cloud State University, and then you obtained your master's degree from Concordia College in St. Paul. You love state and national parks, which I think is really special. And you're just also excited about Christ. And like Harris said, we're going to talk more about what that looks like in the public school. But fill in the gaps for me, Jenny. Tell listeners other things that you would like them to know about you personally or professionally.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I did get my bachelor's degree from St. Cloud State. I actually got that in 5 years instead of 4 years, just because going into college, had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work with people. I considered being a youth pastor or a youth director, and was trying all sorts of different majors out, from music therapy to social work to psychology, community psychology, and then took an intro to education course. And through that, the Lord just made it really clear, like, this is what you are meant for. Through a field experience in a third grade classroom, where I am highly introverted, but I left the classroom every single day full of energy and excited, and it just made it really clear. So yeah, ended up needing to take an extra year just to cover all of that. So graduated from St. Cloud State, and then taught at a couple of different schools before I landed at New London Spicer Middle School. And then chose to get my master's degree after 3 years of teaching, because I felt it was really important to kind of continue my education, and just in my experience with all sorts of different areas, from public to private, small town school to big school. I found there were kids who experienced tough stuff. And so my specialization in my master's is trauma and resilience in educational settings. And so kids who have been through really tough stuff, and how to help them and how to come alongside them in that, and support them. So, and yeah, like you said, I love being outside. I love national parks. My coffee mug today is actually from Grand Teton National Park from Jenny Lake, which I was at this summer with my family, which is super fun. But yeah, love exploring, love being outside, love anything to do with nature.
Jenny, what do you love most about teaching?
I love building relationships with the kids. And I love when they feel so comfortable with me and so comfortable in my classroom that year after year, they keep coming back to my room, even though I don't teach them anymore. On any given morning, I can have any kids in the middle school in my room. I will often have 6th, 7th, 8th graders coming to visit me to say hi and hang out and talk in the morning. And I love just building those connections, or even some 9th graders who come back. I never know when I make a connection with some of those kids. And earlier this year, I had a 9th grade boy come and give me a hug, which I would never have expected, especially from a 9th grade boy. But I just love the impact that got made, that he wanted to do that and was excited to come back and say hi.
Let's talk a little bit about that tough stuff, things that all kids experience, but not everyone experiences it to the same extent. How do you have to identify that in the classroom? And Jake, you can answer this as well. Or how do you, as a teacher, point out those kids or find those kids that have the tough stuff and come alongside them?
It's a great question. Something that I've learned is often it's the kids who are showing the behaviors that you are most frustrated with, and that upset you the most, and that push your buttons the most. Those are the kids who have something else going on, but they don't know how to say that they need help, or they don't know how to get the attention in a positive way. And so their behavior is their attempt to communicate that they are struggling and they need something.
Yeah, I would just say, oftentimes you can tell, like, I don't know how to speak to it if, like, it's been going on for a long time, but if something happens in a student's life, like through the course of the year, you can usually tell, like, they start to behave differently. They start to kind of it depends on the kid. Sometimes they'll shut down and they'll kind of become reserved. Sometimes, like she said, they'll act out. And I know at our own school, we have a great support staff that we can say, hey, like, can you talk to this kid about this? I mean, I just noticed that he or she is being reserved, or he or she is acting in a way that they don't typically do. And we just want to make sure that everything's okay. So yeah, it's just being able to come alongside and support them. And I'm not a counselor of any sort, so I don't feel that I'm the best equipped to handle that kind of thing, but I'm grateful that we have support staff and people on staff who are. And so it's just been, that's how we go about it. But
what I think is really unique about the position that you guys are in, especially being like kind of on the younger side of students, teachers, I guess not really younger, but they're not quite there yet. They're not 17, 18 years old, but you're one of the only adults that interact with them on a day-to-day basis. And you see them probably more than some of their parents do, more than a lot of their family members do. And you can identify when those bad things are happening. And there's a real opportunity there with that. And that's really cool that you guys have taken education to be a person of help.
What would you say your advice to parents and grandparents when you see kids struggling? How would you encourage them from a teaching perspective, or as their teacher, you know in your heart that child is struggling? What would you say to their family members or even to the community as to what to do?
I think sometimes and I'm guilty of this myself, we say things that we think are helpful, but they're not. And so sometimes just sitting with a kid who is struggling, especially if they're having a hard time voicing what's going on, sometimes just sitting with them and being with them and showing like, I am here for you. You don't have to do anything. That can oftentimes open the door to having a conversation about it. But I feel like oftentimes when kids are experiencing something, they feel alone. And so just showing that you are there is so important.
I would say communication. Communicate with the parents, like just reach out and say, hey, I've noticed that this is going on. Communicate with the student. Just ask them, hey, is like everything going okay? Even just making them aware that you care, like can go a long way. And then also just encouraging communication between the parent and the student, right? Just encouraging them, hey, like, I don't want to like get involved, but maybe have a conversation with your kid. It's not my place to parent them, or it's not my place to tell you how to parent, but I want to make you aware of this. I don't know if you've noticed anything different at home, but yeah, so just communicating and encouraging communication.
I love those two examples, Jenny and Jake. And I think too, there's students out there that are absolutely thriving. And then there's students that are thriving and struggling. And then students that are simply struggling. And, how do we become aware and kind of eyes wide open as parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles in the community to, like you said, for people that are probably not communicating hurt? And how do we come alongside of them and kind of sit on the bench of hurt? Like you said, maybe it's to say nothing, but to sit on the bench of hurt so that we're communicating to them care, as you said, Jake. And I often think too that this is true for adults, this is true for students, that sometimes we let our circumstances or our family or things that have happened to us define who we are. But for those students to realize that doesn't have to be their identity, and their family doesn't have to define who they are, or their circumstances don't have to define who they are. And not easy. And I too am the farthest thing from a counselor. I have no professional experience with this, but that we can take up kind of our own cross of identity, and that identity can be in Christ versus I think oftentimes as human beings, we try to define who we are by our circumstances or maybe negative things that have happened to us or hurtful family members. And we want this to be light and positive today, but for students to really believe in themselves and get excited about who they are, and they can forge their own path. Easier said than done. I have another question that I'm excited about. It is certain, and I know from the bottom of my heart that I've said it before, both of you and all teachers out there, professors, you are making a significant difference in the lives of others. We couldn't be more grateful. Again, you'll never be able to measure your ripples. I truly mean that. So you're a gift to students, you're a gift to the community, you're a gift to parents and grandparents and everyone that you serve. But I just know that those students are a gift to you as well. Now you have your challenging days, and I can't even imagine. I wouldn't have been a good teacher. I would not have been a good teacher. So I have so much reverence for teachers. But although you have your challenges, those students, I'm sure a lot of them, when you really think about it, are an absolute gift to both of you and have sharpened you. How could you speak to an example or a few examples? What have you learned from your students? You know, we're humbled. I'm humbled by my own kids, my own nieces and nephews. And at 52 years old, I learn a lot from my kids. They sharpen me and help me to be a better person. How would you say that your students have sharpened you, or what have you learned from them?
A lot of slang.
6, 7?
Oh, my word. If I had a nickel for every time I heard 6, 7,
I'm sick of it. And yet I laugh at it too now.
Yeah,
Can you explain what that means?
No.
Nothing. It means nothing.
It's
I know nothing.
6, 7?
It's slang.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know, 6, 7. It means nothing.
It really means
Are
nothing.
you too old to even know this?
I know this, but I don't participate in this.
Good. Don't.
Yeah. No. Slang. But other than that, I need a minute to think. Sorry. I spoke first and then I lost it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that comes up for me, I've learned the importance of showing that I'm human too. And I make mistakes, and being able to be upfront with that, of like, I'm not perfect. I remember one time, my first year at my current school, we were doing an experiment, or I was showing the difference, like when you add lubrication to something, how it lessens the friction. And so I had pulled out some oil, and they were like feeling sandpaper without oil and then with oil to feel the difference. And a kid spilled the oil, and I was really frustrated. And so I told him off. And then I realized, like, a minute later, like, he was crying, and I felt about 2 inches tall myself. And so I pulled him out in the hallway and I apologized. And I don't know how many kids experience an adult apologizing to them, but I felt awful. And so I try really hard to be very upfront with my kids when I've made a mistake. Like, hey, I'm really sorry. That was not good. So please forgive me for doing that. So yeah, that's one thing that I've learned through many, many mistakes. And I'm sure I'm going to make many more because I am human.
Can I steal your answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. Being a first year teacher, particularly last year, I probably made just about every mistake in the book. I mean, I was short with kids. I would get to class days and I was like, oh, right, I have this class today. I don't have as great of a lesson plan as I would like. But yeah, just learning to admit mistakes. That's been a big thing. Another thing I would say that I've learned is just learning again that learning can be fun, especially in science this past year. Like last year, when I first started out, I had a textbook and I had like a bunch of PowerPoints, and I was like, okay, we're going to go through this. We're going to go boom, 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 boom. And the kids did not enjoy the class a ton at first. So just, sorry, I snorted. Just learning. Can we cut that? Just learning again, like, hey, like science class in high school is supposed to be fun. Like we're supposed to blow stuff up. We're supposed to have fun.
It's the first question I get asked every year. Are we going to blow something up this year?
Yeah, I almost blew up my hand the other day. I was making we were talking about Newton's third law, and I was trying to make a rocket show equal opposite reaction as the fire shoots out that way, rocket goes that way. And the rocket I made was pretty lame. It didn't go very fast. So it was just like a bottle rocket, a big like 3-gallon bottle. So I had the brilliant idea. I was like, well, if I just make the hole smaller, that'll increase the thrust. I made it way too small, and when I lit it, it blew up in my hand and like sprayed me with plastic shrapnel and everything. There was no kids in the room, just to be clear. There was nobody. Yeah, no, I was doing this on my own, like in the lab.
I mean, that would have made a great story for your students.
They
would have loved that.
Yeah.
Did you need medical help from your father?
No,
is the question.
No, it wasn't that bad. I had a couple like cuts and my thumbnail was split a little bit. But other than that, I was fine. But yeah, no. So just finding ways to make, again, learning fun and learning again that learning can be fun. So
yeah, that's something else also I've learned. We got a new curriculum a couple of years ago, and I was going perfectly by the book, doing stuff with that. And I remember a kid very distinctly, I will not forget this. She just said like, Miss Olson, this doesn't make any sense. I was like, you're right. It doesn't. We're going to scrap this and we're going to retry something else. And just learning to adapt on the fly to help kids understand it better.
Improvisation. Oh my word.
All the time.
One thing that I think is unique is our listening base is quite a bit older. We're on the younger side, the three of us. I actually probably don't know that. I just assume. But
I look younger than I am.
But I was in the classroom the most recently, and I kind of know what the environment is like. How do you think it's like changed with technology and with different things? When I think about my grandma, she was teaching, I think she retired in 2005, and she tried to go back right after that and sub and stuff. And she was like, I couldn't use the software and I couldn't use the smart boards and all that. How do you guys like leverage technology, especially in science and in that, to be like, okay, we have this cool stuff now, or AI or whatever it is, to impact the students? Maybe you don't. I don't know.
You want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. So myself, I graduated high school in 2014. So I was just on the edge of the technology coming in. So I wasn't a 1-to-1 ratio. I hand wrote a lot of stuff. I think that's really valuable and I really enjoy doing that. And yet I also use a lot of technology now. Like the school that I teach at, we are 1-to-1 ratio. So that means that each student has their own device that they have from, for sure, 5th grade on, but I think it starts a little bit earlier. So what's really neat is there are some opportunities with that we can do like some online labs that I don't have access to the materials in person. So that's a unique thing. And yet I also think it's really valuable to put the screens away and to tangibly safely mix chemicals together and see what happens, or touch something with your hands. There's only so much you can learn through a screen.
And is that like they have iPads or computers or?
We have Chromebooks, which don't always work as it is.
Yeah.
It's like a laptop, but broken.
Yeah, we have Chromebooks as well. They get them in middle school, but I don't think they get to take them home in middle school. They do in high school. And I don't use the Chromebooks a ton in my classroom. Like you said, I think hands-on stuff, especially for science, is just, it helps it stick so much more. So if it's something that I can't feasibly do in the classroom, I'll show a video or something. But when I can, I try to have a hands-on experiment that goes along with the lesson rather than have them do something online. For financial stewardship, we did a bit on the Chromebooks. That was more, I mean, there's like a lot of the like websites and stuff. Like if you go to the IRS, we had them look through the IRS website, like fill out a W-2 online, that kind of thing. So it depends on the class when I use it and when I don't. And I don't know that I can speak to like how it's changed the classroom, because when I was in high school, I had a Chromebook. I mean, that's how I grew up. And it's just, it is so hard to police is a big thing right now. Like games, they're constantly playing games. So it's almost to the point where we just can't let them have them out, because if they're out, they're playing games on them. And it's almost impossible to keep everything blocked. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I wasn't even trying one day and I accidentally unblocked YouTube on my Chromebook. Like I was just messing around. Like I wasn't even trying to get around or circumvent the blocks or anything. And I just all of a sudden I was on YouTube and it was unblocked. And then I told people how I did it and everybody was on YouTube the next day. So,
so you were that kid.
I was that kid. Okay. Yeah, I was that kid.
To be fair, the blocks don't always work
the
blocks
are,
like, and sometimes they work a little too well where then they can't access what they need to access on there. So
it's just, it is a powerful tool. It is fantastic. And again, depending on the class, I mean, I can't imagine trying to write a paper without autocorrect. I would have flunked college. I am a terrible speller. So I think it's certainly a powerful tool and it can be useful. I think we need to find better ways to use it. I think that's going to be a big thing, especially with the advent of AI now. I mean, it's going to be a mess, but
I know something I've learned is if the Chromebook is open, they cannot hear me. That is just not possible. And so there are many times that, okay, time to close them. And I have had to take many Chromebooks away from kids because they will not close it, or they have no self-control with it, which is also just a challenge.
I'm fascinated in my professional world with AI, in the world of now podcasting, the world of being a professional auctioneer, a real estate broker. Like the circles that I run in professionally, it's just a hot topic. And I'm sure for all of us, we're not going to solve this AI topic in this conversation today. But what do you both think, and your opinions might change by the month, but what do you think are the opportunities and challenges of AI with these students? And Harris, just graduating from Texas A&M, I know at some of your classes, they encouraged you to use it. Some maybe didn't encourage you to use it. I mean, how do we navigate AI with students?
I think, as I said before, I mean, it's a tool, right? It's, and I think if we leave it as a tool, like if we acknowledge that it's a tool and it's not a substitute, like it should not replace like if a professor gave me a paper to write, it shouldn't replace my writing a paper, but I could maybe use it for generating ideas or even coming up with like a list of sources that would be a good idea to check out. So just teaching kids to use it wisely. I think we need to have even just like an AI dedicated class, like just an entire class on AI, what it is, how it works. Because a lot of times we say AI and we don't really understand what exactly we're talking about, because there's so many different types and so many different, like so many different models out there that all do different things. So just having a class, I think, that would introduce students to AI, how to use it effectively. Here's like an appropriate use of AI. Here's a not appropriate use of AI. I don't think I'm qualified to teach such a class because I don't understand computers very well, but yeah, just like teaching them to use the tool wisely, because it's not going away. I mean, I think like a lot of educators would like to just completely get rid of it. Like, no, you just can't use it, but it's going to be there. I mean, as soon as they graduate high school, even in high school, they're using it now. I mean, ChatGPT, you can take a picture of your homework and it does it for you. So it just finding ways to encourage students to take their learning into their own hands and be like, hey, like if you're going to use a machine to do all of your stuff for you, then you're not going to learn anything. And that's on you. Like I can't make you not do this because you have a phone at home. And I'm kind of rambling and going off on a bunch of different tangents. But anyways, just encouraging students to use AI well is what I would say. But
that said, well, Jake, discernment, how is it a tool for good, but not a tool to hurt you? Yeah. Jenny, what's your thoughts?
I am personally very anti-AI. I totally can understand and hear the benefits of it. And I do think there are definitely some benefits. I think it can help kids brainstorm when they are really stuck on something. I had a professional development at school all about it. I had a class that had us teaching about it in my master's, but I really value teaching kids to think for themselves rather than something doing the thinking for them. And I think often when we use AI, we're focused a lot more on the product rather than the process. And we don't know how to sit in the uncomfortableness of, I don't know the answer. And I'm not going to look it up because I want to wrestle with this because there's a lot of value in that process. So I think I would intend to come at it from that angle of, yeah, you could use this and it in some ways can be helpful, but I think it can short circuit a lot of the learning that can happen.
Yeah, and also just, I would say like teaching kids, especially right now, I mean, AI is not always right? I mean, so like, yes, ChatGPT told you this or whatever, Claude or whatever told you this, but let's take a minute and think about it. Like encourage them to not just, like you said, just like look everything up and just be parrots, like essentially just repeating everything that they read online, because that never ends well, or ends bad anyways. But yeah, just encouraging them to think, like you said, like they need to be able to examine whatever the AI says and evaluate it and logically go, okay, so that makes sense, that doesn't, this is good, this is bad, like just having that level of discernment. But
and teaching them the ethics of it as well. When is it an appropriate time to use it? When is it not? Thinking through just even the environmental impacts of it. Like, let's not look up any random question on ChatGPT because that's a very negative impact on the environment itself. But when is an appropriate time to do that? And then also, I had a thought and I lost it. Shoot.
I'll just say this, Jenny, excuse me if I interrupted you. When I think of, and I'm old, Harris, you're right. We've got 3 young people and an old person, but I went through K through 12th grade at Willmar High School. I actually was in a small little country school. I'm calling it a country school. It wasn't a country school, but I think of it as a country school in Concordia High. It doesn't even exist anymore, but part of the building does. But when I think of my teachers, like literally all of my teachers have a little bit of a slice of my heart. They just do. That's how formative the teachers were in my life. And to this day, what I need to do is get on the phone and thank them for who they were and the difference they made in my life. But as I look back, and I'm so thankful for all the teachers in my life, they didn't have to navigate AI. They didn't have to navigate social media. I'm not insinuating that they had it all easy. And by the way, this won't surprise you. Your mother got a couple talking letters in 6th grade. I remember my parents, I'm super embarrassed to admit this, but you guys, my parents had to be called in when I was in 6th grade to visit with my teacher because he had a recipe file. And if you got enough check marks, then you're for talking. That won't surprise you. I over-talked. And so my parents had to be called in. But our teachers didn't have to navigate what you guys are navigating. And again, they had, I'm sure, other challenges. But, the ethics of AI, the advantages and disadvantages in middle school, which you're teaching, Jenny, are probably different than high school, probably different than college. How did Texas A&M with college kids tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing? And this will all be evolving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, college is a little different with just the classroom is not as involved as it is in high school. It's a lot more lecture based, a lot more you kind of have it on your own. You're trying to figure things out more on your own, I would say. So I think AI is probably a little bit more valuable, but I also agree with Jenny that AI doesn't reason. And you have to teach the students to reason for themselves. There definitely was times where I used it, that it helped me learn, that it helped me learn the process. When you're going through very complicated things, sometimes you need someone else to break it down a different way than the teacher can. And AI can do that. But you can't use it to replace your own reasoning. And I think that's where it flips into something that's not a tool, or flips from a tool to something that's not a tool, and it's just giving you answers back. And I think that's how I used it generally. I would say I was really good with it. But it is definitely a very easy route to get into where this is replacing my actual learning, and then things get harder on the exams. Things get harder when it comes to a final. But I don't think that was the case for me, but it is very easy for students to fall into that, just with how easy the access is and stuff like that these days.
How do we navigate social media, you two? Do we want to talk about the pros and cons of social media? No pressure.
I'm not sure I'm a good example of it. I don't have any social media. I have a
think
dumb
that's a
phone.
great example, Ben.
Well, no, but I don't know that I'm like qualified to speak on it. I have a dumb phone, so I don't even have anything. I think I had Snapchat for like 3 weeks in high school, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm done. So
I think we need voices like that.
I admire you. I admire you,
thanks.
Jake.
I think it had more to do with
You
my
too.
social awkwardness and unwillingness to put myself out there online than anything else. But yeah, I'll let you go first on that one.
Yeah, I feel like social media is a really difficult thing to navigate. I think it's so normal in our world now, and yet it can be so addictive. And I'm speaking as somebody who I will fully admit that I am addicted to Instagram, and I don't like that. And I cannot tell you how many times I've deleted it from my phone to only then put it back on the next day. I did that last night. Being fully transparent, and I am almost 30 and I struggle with that. I feel like it's really a challenge then when we're putting that in the hands of a 10 to 18-year-old who they don't have as much self-regulation. I think we're handing them something that can be really debilitating and addicting. And yet it can also be a neat tool of being able to share things and being able to communicate with people who maybe you aren't with every single day. So it's both and.
One other unique thing I wanted to talk about, that this isn't have so much to do with social media, but it's a challenge that we all three experienced differently. All four of us actually, was COVID. I know Jake, you graduated in 2020.
Yep.
So you went from high school to college during that time, and I'd like to hear about that unique experience. And were you in the master's program during that time, or were you teaching?
No, my very first year of teaching was 2019, 2020.
Okay.
So my first year of teaching was the year of COVID.
Tell us about that. I know I experienced high school COVID and how that was, but what was it like from the teacher's perspective?
It was really hard, especially with that being my first introduction into the field. I'm
sure it was chaos.
Kind of shocked that I stuck with it after that. Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, even just thinking of the kids that, again, with the degree that I have, the kids who are going home to really tough home lives, and there's nothing I can do to support them outside of, here's your homework, sorry. Yeah, it was a challenge. I don't think I had a regular last day of school until my third or fourth year of teaching, just with everything COVID-wise. It was, hard, especially my first year and a half I taught at St. Cloud Christian School. And so they didn't have as much technology as what the school I have now has. And so they didn't necessarily have devices. So we couldn't hop on and do a Zoom every so often. I had to record videos of what I was teaching, which teaching grammar through videos is really difficult. I don't know how I did that. So it was definitely a challenge. I was so grateful to be back in person and to be teaching normally.
Yeah, it's really difficult when you have a lot of, like you said, your purpose in wanting to be a teacher was people focused. You want to do something people focused.
Yep.
And when you have to do that through a screen, or when you're just doing that from home in whatever way it was at, Zoom or whatever, that takes away from your purpose and really kind of puts a block between what you love to do and what you actually have to do during that time. And that's amazing. And to see the resilience of teachers during that time, me as a student, was really, really cool. And they were extremely, not all of them, I wouldn't say, but they were extremely adaptable as to, okay, we have to accept this is where we are, and we are going to fulfill our service to the students in their learning. And it, probably wasn't as good as being in the classroom, but they did the best they could in that time. And I was really happy with that.
Yeah, I do think I had a benefit of that being my first year teaching, in the fact that I didn't have a set plan of this is how I do things. Yeah. I was very open to whatever I needed to do because I was making it up as I went along anyway.
Yeah.
So it just went from making it up in person to making it up at home.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jake? What was that like graduating high school during that time? And then also moving away to, I'm guessing you guys started in the fall in Virginia. during that crazy time?
Yeah, it was really, really rough. I played Minecraft the whole time. Honestly, it was different. It was odd. I didn't get like a senior prom. I didn't get a senior, like my graduation. Everybody was in cars, all out in the parking lot, and we were up on like a outdoor stage. It was odd. I wasn't terribly upset about it. I mean, like I said, me and my friends played Minecraft for probably 8 hours every day together. So, I mean, we had fun. And then I went to Liberty, which at Liberty, they were very much, I don't want to say COVID deniers, but like very much the government can't tell me to do anything. So it really didn't impact. Yeah, it felt pretty normal at Liberty. And I'm not going to comment on whether that was good or bad, but
it's in the name.
Yeah. So I would say it didn't impact me a ton beyond I did online classes for, I don't know, like 6 weeks or something. And then, I went to Liberty in the fall, and Liberty ran pretty much as normal. So it wasn't that big of an impact on my life. I know there are people who it was much more of an impact. And like you said, like seeing my teachers have to do all of these extra things now, being on this side of it, I can't imagine having to like suddenly convert all my lesson plans to videos. I mean, that would be awful.
You learn to be really creative.
Yeah, I imagine. But
I remember like I think my phone was what took most of my videos of things. And so I had like this weird setup where it was like a pile of books and then like a heavy water bottle to hold my phone in place through like a little hole so I could like show on the paper what they needed to do. It was, you learn to be creative.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine trying to teach math because like if they have a question, what do you do? Like, Google it. I don't know. I don't know how to, like, I can't show you on your piece of paper, like how to do it. So, it didn't impact me a ton, but I can't imagine going through that now as a teacher.
Yeah.
So.
I give all of you a lot of credit. So navigating COVID, then in my late 40s, as a mom and being in the community and working, I navigated it in my own way. But you being a student, you being a young professional was a whole different set of navigating. And something I'm trying to remember, I think now being, 5 years out, I want to remember the good that came from it. And one of my faults is speed and going through life and not slowing down. I think there was good. And then obviously so much disappointment, so much sadness, so much death. And how do we not forget and really have reverence for what COVID taught us in all of the good, and then all, of course, of the reverence for disappointment and sadness and all the lives that were lost. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I don't want to forget kind of all that meant to me. Let's go back to tough stuff. Jenny, you had said to me, and I know, Jake, you have also said that as teachers, when students go through difficult challenges, that also presents itself as an opportunity. And that's something that I just admire greatly. You both, in the roles that you have, you're going to see a lot of things to celebrate and then a lot of tough stuff. And again, no pressure, but even the tough stuff as being followers of Christ, there's phenomenal opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. Jenny, I know you have an example or two of walking through hard things and then finding opportunity.
Yeah, the couple that I can think of, I'll speak pretty vaguely of them, but I, since teaching at my school, have attended 2 different funerals, one of a parent and then one of a couple of kids. And it was really difficult to do that. And yet also for the funeral that was of a parent, it felt really important and really sacred to go. And it was nothing that anybody had asked of me. I had gone to my administration and, hey, can I go, please? Can I take time off to go to this funeral? Because I want to be there for this kid. And And she was really surprised that I was there. And I don't know if she would say it verbally or anything, but I think she was really touched that I was there. And then when I taught a younger sister a couple of years later, I could tell that like with her, it had made some inroads when I mentioned like, yeah, I actually was there. And then for the students going to that funeral, I definitely felt a lot of emotion on that day. And so it was really hard for me to be there. And yet it was a neat opportunity, I think the next day, to kind of debrief with my homeroom and like, hey, so how many of you were there? What stood out to you? What was a challenge? We all went to a funeral where like it was in a church, and it was an opportunity to talk about faith in the classroom when it isn't always an opportunity. There isn't always an opportunity to do that. So those were both like really, really challenging things. And yet I am so glad that I stepped into that challenge. And I chose to go, and I chose to be present in that. Because I think that made a really big difference.
You put your courage ahead of your fear and stepped into a challenge that, like you said, turned into an awesome opportunity to witness and be a good example to all of those around you. Jake, any examples or things that come to mind in challenges that can be seen as opportunities?
I wouldn't say anything specifically in the community, but there's been stuff that happens like abroad, like one thing that happened, like, I mean, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I don't want to like just keep bringing that up, but like the kids obviously like they want to talk about it, and I think the temptation can be a lot of times to be like, oh no, don't, like hush, don't talk about that, like let's just move on, but just taking that opportunity to talk through them about those sorts of tragedies and be like, hey, like how does this make you as a student feel? Like how does this make you? And I work at a Christian school, so like, how does this make you as a Christian feel? Like, how are you wrestling through this? Just taking those opportunities to talk with them, like, and just have real conversations, right? Not being artificial. And some of the kids will always like joke about it or like make inappropriate comments, and that makes it tough. But having those conversations nonetheless, because there are kids there who are genuinely like wrestling through stuff, and just taking those opportunities to have genuine conversations, build relationships, and just like get their thoughts. Again, there's not really been anything specific in the community that I can think of the last 2 years, but just having those broader conversations. Yeah.
Like you said, it all goes back to communication. Harris, I'm going to put you on the spot. You didn't think I was going to do this. When I listened to both of you, Jenny being a public school teacher and Jake being a private school teacher, and you, Jenny, having experience in both, Jake, you now teaching at a private school and attending private school for all of your education. Harris attended private school for his elementary years up until 7th grade, and then went to Willmar High School. Harris, when you've kind of wore both hats, as Jenny's wore both hats, how do you, as a Christian yourself, Harris, how would you encourage students in their faith? Again, I think the overall premise of today, we're celebrating teachers, we're celebrating students, but teachers and students go through positive things, sad things, opportunities, challenges. This is all just called life. How would you encourage these teachers? How would you encourage them? And how would you encourage students?
That's an interesting question.
And I know I just put them right on the spot.
No, that's okay. I would just go back to kind of what I said at the beginning, that my teachers at both the public and private school had a significant impact on me. Just having them show up every day, having them have a smile on their face. There's a lot of people that aren't Minnesota nice anymore. And I think that majority of teachers are, and they have just can bring an atmosphere to their classroom that's a step away from home, or it's a step away from sports, or it's a step away from whatever. And they can focus on just learning and being in that environment. And that is really fostered by the teacher. So it is maybe a burden isn't the right word, but it is an opportunity for you guys to create that environment that I was so blessed with in many, many, many of my classrooms in the high school and in the private school. And for the students, I would just say, like, it's hard, but continue to take one step at a time and find that teacher that is willing to come alongside of you. Find someone that's a mentor in the school. That's another student that's older than you, that's willing to encourage you, maybe help you with classes or whatever it is. And there is people like these wonderful two teachers that are there to support you. Go to their classroom early in the morning, come say hi, give them a hug, just be vulnerable with your teachers. And I think that will open up doors for students to have encouraging conversations and just have a friend in the schools.
Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing your heart.
Yeah.
There's so much more that we'd love to talk about. Both of you are fascinating. You're vulnerable, you're authentic, you're genuine. You have really good hearts. Jake, I've known your heart for a long time. You have a really good heart. Jenny, you have a brand new heart to me, but it's a beautiful one. Your eyes sparkle, and both of you have a lot of passion for what you're doing. And truly, truly, I know I've said it a couple times. Here's what I want you to both know when you lay your head on the pillow. You'll never be able to measure those ripples. You'll never know the students that make one good decision because of you two or turn out. You'll never know the impact of how Christ is using you through your profession. And we're wildly cheering you both on and very proud of you. Thank you so much for sharing today. There's been many nuggets that you've given us as the community listening, parents listening, grandparents, even students listening. But on the One Pebble podcast, we always give the guests the opportunity to throw out the last pebble. What would you like to say that you haven't had an opportunity to say? Or do you have any last words of encouragement for you as teachers to the community, or encouragement to the community to get behind your students? Just anything on your heart. We want to give you that last opportunity. Or what keeps you up at night? Or what?
Maybe not that.
How do we get behind you? You know, as the community, how do we get behind you two? What does support look like to teachers? And what does support look like? Today we're celebrating students. We're celebrating teachers. What does support look like to teachers? And what does support look like to students?
I would say support from parents. It just looks like being present, just like showing up, both like specifically for your kid, but then also if there's events going on at school or something like that, showing up, like being there. And I know that's not always possible or practical. Like that people have jobs, they work. I get that. But when you can, making an effort to show up, just be physically present, I would say that is the most encouraging and helpful thing that you can do.
Yeah, I think something that Jake mentioned earlier is just communication. I think that communication between parents and teachers is super important because, like, I never want to be against a parent. I'm always on team their kid. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm on their kid's team, and I want to be part of that team and working together with them to have their kid be the most successful that they can be. So having that communication that's open and honest and, hey, here's something that I'm struggling with at school. What do you see at home? How can we partner together to help your kid be successful?
We've learned a lot from you two. We're proud of you two. You've given us a ton of nuggets. And I just want to speak to that real quickly. I didn't plan to do this, but when you talked about showing up, a dear friend of our family, his name was Daryl Fostervold, and he just passed away at 82 years old. He was a prime example of showing up. He attended as many Willmar Public School events as he possibly could. And the community really fell in love with him from the servant leader he was. And he was just a man alongside his wife, Mary. They've just showed up over and over and over and over. And the dividends that has played in the lives of others. So Jake, you're right. It can be just as simple as showing up and what that means to a community. And speaking of communication, Jenny, for teachers or for parents and the community and grandparents to continue to communicate. You may or may not think your student is, we don't know if these students are sometimes happy or not, but to lean in. I don't have the answers, but you've inspired me and motivated me. We have to continue to communicate and just keep talking, and the dividends that will play.
Yeah. And speaking also just to the showing up, like that's the same with teachers. Even if you're having a hard day, even if you're having a hard whatever, something is going on in your life, like still showing up and being there for your students and being present to them. And you can be authentic with it too of, yeah, I'm having a hard day, but it's okay. We're all here and we're going to do it together.
I love that. Something I'm working on with the One Pebble podcast is learning how to say goodbye. We fall in love with our guests, and it's hard for me to end the podcast because there's so much more that we want to talk about, and we're so excited about your heart. So I'm going to turn it over to Harris. Harris, how do we end this with two guests that we're so proud of? What else would you like to say, Harris?
I'll just say one thing because it was on my mind and it just keeps ringing when you guys keep saying this stuff that when Jake mentioned Charlie Kirk, it actually came to mind. I had a professor in college. He was a former colonel in the Marine Corps and he was in the Pentagon on 9/11. And I had him as a professor and I wanted to go visit him on 9/11. So I set up a meeting just to go to his office, just emailed him. He said, come during my time and we'll visit, and wanted to just talk about what that day was like and hear a little bit more from him. And that was right after Charlie Kirk had passed away too. And I didn't mean to like set that up in that time, but I just asked him like, what can I do as a student? And I was in that moment where I was kind of reflecting on, we'd just seen a horrific assassination and, you know, it was a moment. 9/11 was just a crazy time in the U.S. I didn't even live through that. And his encouragement to me is something that I've thought of a lot since then. And he just said, it takes young people like yourselves to step up in their community and create ripple effects in where their feet are. And it takes a lot of people to do that and to build up other leaders. And I see that very evident from you guys. And I want to continue to do that myself. So thanks for the inspiration today. Thanks for being on the podcast, and Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jake. We're very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
This has been the One Pebble podcast. One pebble, so many ripples. What will you do to make a difference?